49er linebacker Keion White shot at a Super Bowl after party. A lot of people are not talking about this. This news has been floating around for the last couple of days. So we're going to cover it here at ZamSports to see what's actually going on after a few days have now transpired. Seahawks have literally had their Super Bowl parade today. I'm going late with this. But a lot of people are not talking about this. This is getting swept under the rug. But as you guys see, 49ers Keion White shot after dispute involving rapper Lil Baby at the San Francisco strip party or strip club, if you want to say. And shout out to my friend Bez who sent this to me to cover this. I looked into this a lot at all angles, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on this situation. But let's just get into what the police report actually says. If you guys are not familiar with Little Baby, is one of the top proclaimed rappers of today's age for the last, I want to say about 5 to 6 years. It says San Francisco 49ers defensive end Keion White was shot early Monday morning at a Mission Street strip club following an argument involving rapper Little Baby, according to a police report viewed by The Standard. The San Francisco Police Department has not named a suspect. Now, when I first seen and looked into this, the first thing, me being from California, particularly Oakland, California, or the Bay Area, I seen Mission Street and I already knew that this was trouble. Mission Street is not one of those areas that you want to be around. I mean, they've done their best to in that area to kind of open up new nightclubs, strip clubs, things of that nature to try to bring a lot of attraction and stuff like that. But Mission Street has always been known for, if you want to call the sex street, right? Stuff that just promotes promiscuous type behavior. And it says a party that began Sunday night continued into the early hours Monday at Dahlia's, a bar and nightclub at 1799 Mission Street. There were several strippers on the main floor, and the private party where White was shot was downstairs. So it was at a nightclub. It wasn't outside. A lot of this type of stuff takes place outside. This was actually inside of the nightclub, and there was a private party within the nightclub. You know, you may have VIP sections, you may have certain secluded areas, right, with a closed door that's actually inside of the nightclub where they have the celebrities that come in and host their private parties. So the fact that somebody was actually shot, from what I'm reading, inside of this actual club goes to show that security was lacking when it came to celebrity status. We got to keep it real here at Zam Sports. And we've seen a lot of these situations take place in the past dealing with parties or club events to where somebody was allowed or a celebrity was able to come in based off their celebrity status with their entourage, and their entourage may have a pistol up on them, right? Social media posts that appear to be from the party showed Lil Baby, whose given name is Dominique Jones, the musician, performed Sunday night in San Francisco. So Little Baby was there for a performance, which makes sense. You got the Super Bowl going on over there, you know what I'm saying, in the San Francisco area, right? In the Bay Area, to be Pacific. After the Super Bowl, people are kind of looking for somewhere to go and party, somewhere to go and kick it after the events. And Lil Baby, being an artist, taking advantage of the situation. It makes sense. But this is the thing. This is probably why he was able to have one of his entourage able to be inside of the Dahlia's on Mission Street, like I said, which is just a street that's always been known in San Francisco, California, for a street of promiscuous behavior. So it says representatives for the rapper Lil Baby did not respond to a request for comment. And that's just street code, y'all. If y'all don't know, nobody's going to talk about the situation. There's situations that arise like this where a lot of people don't know what's going on, what caused the issue, how tensions have actually rised. And, I'm just going to speak on my culture, right? We've been taught in our culture, to a no snitch rule. You understand? You're a snitch when certain things go on. But we're going to get a little bit more into it to see if Keion White had anything to say to the authorities dealing with the situation. It says a witness interviewed by police said Jones, dealing with Lil Baby, entourage was on the main floor and tried to enter White's private event. So now we got context. Supposedly, you have Little Baby, okay, that's there to perform. This is White's private event. Now, I've looked more into this as far as seeing if anybody else is speaking on this from any other news reporters, any other tribunes, and things of that nature. But none of them are saying to this extent that this was actually Keion White's private event, which would actually make sense for him being a linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers, right? So it looks like Keion White had a section, okay, at a private event in Dahlia's on Mission Street. And let's continue. Let's see. The witness said that when he went upstairs to ask for manager's help, he heard two gunshots. So this witness wasn't able to see what transpired initially when it came to face-to-face contact or verbal communication. He heard two gunshots. So the witness is the one who just heard two gunshots. He probably seen Lil Baby and his entourage maybe approaching the VIP section where Keion White, second round draft pick, linebacker of the 49ers, was hosting his event. I don't know if Keion White maybe had Little Baby there to perform, because we just seen here as we go back up, right? It says that, as we see here, I want to say right here, social media post that appeared to be from the party showed Lil Baby, whose given name is Dominique Jones. The musician performed Sunday night in San Francisco, according to an event listing. So maybe this wasn't the same event dealing with Keion White. Maybe Lil Baby had a performance that he had to do in San Francisco the same night, being in the Bay Area, like I was saying earlier, being that it's a Super Bowl. This is a very good advantage, right, to take advantage of a performance where you have people flying in from all different states. And from what it's looking like, because I don't have any information, I'm not seeing any information on other sites, other reports, as far as if this was Keion White actually having Lil Baby to perform at his event. So I'm not going to say that. Okay. It says the witness said that when he went upstairs to ask for manager's help, he heard two gunshots. Another party, as we look here, another party attendee interviewed by the San Francisco Standard said she did not witness the shooting, but heard four gunshots. So we have four gunshots. And as we're going to go down into this report, we're going to see, guys, that this is actually dealing with two different shooters. Okay. I'm going to show you guys through this report that it's not one shooter. Topless women were sweeping up dollars when police entered the club to investigate the 4:06 a.m. shooting, the report said. So we're talking about 4:06 a.m. Most quote unquote strip clubs are closed at, you can go to Atlanta. A lot of these strip clubs are closed at, I want to say, around 1:30. Most clubs are closed at 1:30 p.m. because they know of the potential hazards or the potential situations that can happen dealing with human beings who are intoxicated this early in the morning, coming from late at night, because it's not like people are coming into these clubs and they are coming into the club off of an 8-hour nap. or a 4-hour nap. No, these guys have been up all day. And they've probably been, this is Super Bowl day. They've been turned all day. It says topless women were sweeping up dollar bills. As I entered, I saw numerous scantily clad females picking up dollar bills that were strewn all over the floor. So, they were making it rain. Keion White was making it rain. And as we look here, we're looking at Keion White again, a second round pick, like I had said, from the New England Patriots, but he's currently on the 49ers, a defensive end. So I said linebacker earlier, so forgive me. Defensive end. Right, he definitely made a name for himself at Georgia Tech, but as we see his stats as we go down, right, his career stats, only 100 total tackles, and we're talking 3 years, 50 solo, 50 assisted, only 7.5 sacks, right, in 3 years, 2 forced fumbles and 1 fumble recovery. As we look at what he did this entire season, as we see, he only put up about 18 total tackles, 7 solo, and 11 assists on those tackles, and about a sack and a half, and 1 force, and then actually 1 fumble recovery. So just with these stats alone, he definitely wasn't getting a lot of production towards the San Francisco, as far as for the San Francisco 49ers defense this year. And these are not the type of stats that you would want to see from a defensive end line, any defensive position, when you were drafted as a second round pick back in 2023, which means that you have some seasons under your belt to be able to learn. And yet you got the NFL that doesn't want to talk about these things, that push other narratives, on other players that are more popular, and then paint negative narratives on them as if that they live a negative lifestyle. And I'm not saying that Keion White lives a negative lifestyle, but if you are I got to keep it 100, man. If you are and we're going to keep it 100 here at ZamSports, to much is given, much is required. I mean, we see this in the good old scriptures, right? To whom is given, much is required. If you were drafted in the second round, I don't care what pick you were. I mean, a 46 pick, that's somewhat towards the middle pack of the second round. You've been in the league since 2023. You haven't really put up that much as far as statistic-wise. I wouldn't be trying to host a private party like I'm just that guy on Mission Street, by the way. And if anybody's from the Bay, I mean, I'm just keeping it 100. Mission Street is not a tourist attraction type of a street in San Francisco. More people are going to Pier 49. We got to keep it real. I'm not going to go to Mission Street and host a private party. Who knows how much that costs? I don't know. To where the point there is a situation happening at 4:06 a.m. to where you're getting shot. And clearly, Lil Baby, as we see here, was definitely down there in the Bay Area for the Super Bowl shenanigans in the weekend. All right. Ready to do his thing. Okay. So let's see what people are saying about it as far as from what I looked at.
San Francisco police confirming they did respond to a report of shots fired on Mission right near South Van Ness, 4 o'clock this morning. Police did not identify White as the victim, but the team has since confirmed he was shot.
KTVU's Bailey O'Carroll joins us in the studio with the latest on what we are hearing about this shooting. Bailey.
Yeah, guys, let's get to the details of what we do know, because it is little. I heard from the team about 30 minutes ago. They did tell me 27-year-old defensive end Keion White is out of surgery and that it was successful. San Francisco police described his injury as non-life-threatening. According to police, officers responded to reports of a shooting following an argument that started inside of a business. No arrests have been made. A suspect.
Now, I want y'all to look at this business. Again, I was telling y'all about Mission Street. It's not a tourist attraction type of place. And I'm glad that they got a shot of this because I see a lot has not changed as far as Mission Street since I've left the Bay Area. And I'm now residing in the Pacific Northwest where there's nothing but trees and opportunity. I mean, we see just on the wall alone on the building, they did their best to try to cover up the graffiti because there are a lot of Samoan gangs, Asian gangs that are actually down there over there in San Francisco, in the Bay Area. A lot of different sets, a lot of different blocks, a lot of different turfs. That's what we call it. I mean, what are you doing here, man? And I'm gonna go even deeper. Little baby, what are you doing here? I can understand maybe a second round pick in Keion White, even though I wouldn't be there. But little baby, what are you doing here, man? What are you doing here? And it gets to the point to where it's just like, look, man, this looks like a type of event to where people can actually get in without the security or the bodyguards or whoever's working this building would know that somebody has a pistol or somebody has a weapon on them. Okay. And then you have situations where Keion White is getting shot. And I'm glad that he is recovered because we don't like to see situations like this. And I definitely don't like to see situations like this as far as just dealing between my people. Like I always feel like things can be solved with discussion. Things can be solved with, if you can't deal with discussion, why don't you just go like the 80s and step outside and throw some blows, man? See, nobody throws blows no more, guys. This is why you sports athletes, you football players, basketball players, boxers, a lot of you guys that baseball, y'all got to be careful stepping out here in the real world. We're not living in the 80s and the 90s no more, in the early 2000s. These guys are shooting now. All right. Let's get some more on this, man. All right, let's get some more on this. So this is from Coach Yak. Says Keion White was shot following an argument with rapper Lil Baby. The incident occurred at Dahlia's, a bar and nightclub on Mission Street in San Francisco. White had a private party in the downstairs area of the facility. So this will make sense that the people who are actually at the facility would probably not know that there's a private party. I'm more than likely to guarantee it as we look at the actual building in this, right, where I push pause, as you see here, that nobody knows that there's a whole downstairs section. Just like nobody knew that. Let me be quiet. Let me watch what I say. Just like nobody knew that there was a whole downstairs section dealing with, you know what I'm saying? Hey, man, you know what I'm saying? Them long beards and small hats over there in New York City. You know, nothing's new under the sun, like it says in the good old scriptures. You understand? So let's see what DJ Academics has to say. You know, he got something he got to say about it. As he says, this is DJ Academics breaking down why he believes the San Francisco 49ers will waive Keion White. He's a third stringer on the team. His contract is up in 2027, and they might void his 2026 money because of the shooting incident with Lil Baby that happened at the club. Now, this is my thing. They keep attaching Lil Baby's name to it, but yet there's no evidence or reports or witnesses that come out to say that Lil Baby was actually involved. And I'm not defending him, but this is my thing. If I'm out with a group of fellas and I know them all, and somebody out of my group decides to just act on their own recognizances and do something that can get somebody locked up or get themselves locked up, just because I happen to be around when that person actually does that action doesn't make me it doesn't make me the person that actually committed the act. It's not like the authorities question Little Baby. I mean, they have access to get to them. There were probably cameras that are probably placed at this event, but the footage has not been posted yet. All right. Who knows what led to the shooting? Who knows what type of emotions were actually presented inside of this establishment? But let's see what academics got to
One
say.
more year. So let's say, God forbid, he can't play the majority. So he's going to be a free agent, an unrestricted free agent in 2027. So later this year, he's supposed to report. I don't know how bad his injury is. Hopefully he could make a training camp. Hopefully he could perform at a high level. But also, here's the thing. When it comes to the NFL, they're thinking about your decision making. Your decision making is that you're in the host city for the Super Bowl. Your team doesn't make it to the Super Bowl. You're in the club, and you're in the club fighting and shooting it out. Obviously, he didn't shoot, but you're in the club with a little baby in them. Okay, so cool. It's not like you were a star already, right? So now, if you can't play the entire next year, why the fuck would they give you another contract? So I'm going to be honest with you. I think he's cooked. So for the people who think that the 49ers, it's not like the 49ers, you shoot the nigga they're paying $200 million, that's a problem. Respectfully. The nigga they're paying $200 million, that's a problem. You shoot this nigga, he's going to get waived. Sorry.
And that's my point, right? That's my point that I wanted to bring out, is that you're not a high notoriety player up on the San Francisco 49ers. You don't want to involve yourself in situations like this. If I'm in his status, what I'm saying, and I hope he's listening, I'm chilling at the crib, man. I'm watching film, I'm watching tape, trying to see how I can get better. I'm not up in everybody's faces, man. But unfortunately, a lot of our people that are in these positions come from inner city neighborhoods, come from poverty, come from situations to where they're not used to having a certain amount of money or being in a certain position to where you can do the things that you want to do. And I'm not knocking as far as him, Keion White, doing what he wants to do on his off time. I mean, he's a grown man. He can do what he wants to do. I'm not knocking that. What I am knocking is not having the discernment, not having the awareness, not having the wisdom to understand time and place. The same way that a quarterback will understand time and possession, or a coach will understand time and possession. There's a time and a place for everything. So yeah, it wasn't a mistake with you being at this establishment here on Mission Street, Keion White, but the mistake obviously happened when the altercation started to rise. And however that altercation started to rise, you have to think better of your career. And I'm not trying to compare careers, but if we're going to compare careers, I mean, you're dealing with little baby who raps about the stuff that just happened at the club. I'm not surrounding myself around that. That's just me. No knock to little baby. But we got to be real here. Not everybody's meant to be around each other. This is a typical story of two different careers, two different pathways clashing and coming in the same path and clashing. I can easily see, going off my opinion and my discernment and from the stories that we're reading and the things that I'm hearing and what we're looking at right here, is that Keion, you had a private establishment. Lil Baby ended up coming in that same establishment. The people that was in the regular crowd, probably got hyped. They probably didn't get as hyped as when you came in the establishment, because you had a private establishment within that establishment. You probably had your own private guest. Clearly, there was strippers that was in there cleaning up dollars. You was wanting to make it rain by yourself in the room. Let's keep it 100. Lil Baby came in there, seen that it was turned up when he came in there, but he didn't want to be around the regular crowd. Where is the private establishment? Well, it's down here in this small establishment. Being in Mission Street probably doesn't understand that, hey, They don't know each other, but they're probably thinking, well, both these guys got money, so pretty sure they want to party together. Well, that's not planned. Lil Baby probably wanted to get inside of the VIP section where Keion White had already held it down and locked it in. And he's probably thinking, like, why is he over here? I told y'all this is the private establishment. And an argument broke out, and Keion didn't want to let Lil Baby in. The tempers flared, and bam. This is what happens. Now, I'm not saying that's true, but what I'm saying, it's a highly possibility that that's what happens. We got to keep it real here at Sam Sports, right? So let's just get a few more. It says 49ers, Keion White was reportedly shot in the ankle. So now we have it in the ankle. It was first reported that he was shot in the leg. Shot in the ankle following an argument with Lil Baby's hours after the Super Bowl, police say. So the fact that he was shot, he did recover from surgery. I'm led to believe that whoever the shooter was did not want to kill this guy. Right? We got a lot of people around, a lot of witnesses within this private establishment in this private section. But just decided to shoot him in the cankle, right? Or the leg. You know, the most useful body part that you need as a NFL football player, defensive end especially. We're talking about planting. We're talking about cutting, you know what I'm saying, and undercutting, you know what I'm saying, the offensive lineman. And so this, I kind of agree with what DJ Academics was saying. It's like, bro, you know, this is not the time to be getting in these type of situations where you haven't even established yourself, you know what I'm saying, to come into after your contract is up to even seeing another extension. So we got to keep it real here at Zam Sports, man. You guys heard it here first, man. Nobody's really talking about this, right? From what we see, they don't really have anything as far as dealing with, you know, Lil Baby, you know, as far as his quote unquote involvement. We just know that it was one of his entourage based off the reports from what we've seen. Keion White actually decided not to comment on the matter, according to authorities, as far as listing an actual person who actually shot him. So for Keion White to not tell the police who actually shot him clearly lets me know that he did have that establishment locked down, which he thought it was locked down for a private establishment at Mission Street, which I showed you guys again. Let's look at it again. You think, Keion White, that you can just lock down Mission Street and look at this establishment right here. Look at that. Okay, you lock that little hole in the wall bar. I've seen little hole in the wall bars that look better than that, you know what I'm saying, out here in the Pacific Northwest, you know what I'm saying, in Seattle, on blocks like this. I mean, what are we talking about, man? The fact that they got gates surrounding the actual door entrance lets you know, guys, that Mission Street is still not to be played with. Still a lot of it's your smaller version of Hollywood Boulevard. A lot of people think Hollywood Boulevard. Oh my gosh, the stars! Put your hands on the stars. Oh, Jack Nicholson star. Oh, this such and star. Michael Jackson star. Well, you know, you walk one block up from them stars. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of fentanyl going on. It's a lot of drug use going on. These are one of these same streets out in San Francisco, Mission Street. Everybody knows about this street. That's from the Bay Area. So, of course, Lil Baby walking into an establishment like this after the fact that Keion White, right, second round pick, but he's a third stringer this year, which is why we looked at his stats. He rarely got any play. He may feel a little offended because the security and the people in the establishment is like, yeah, we got Keion White in here, but damn, Lil Baby just came to my little establishment. Oh, they probably rung the sirens. Y'all know how it was, right? On that movie. Players Club. Y'all know how it was. When big money came into the building, you ring that siren, then the whole start coming. Excuse my language. But then the chicks start coming out. Yeah, money's here. Money's here. Remember, the police came into the and it said was dollars everywhere. Was it dollars for Keion White or was it dollars for Lil Baby? One will never know. But if I'm Keion White, man, I'm focusing on my career. I'm not focused on all this other nonsense, man, and trying to make myself involved, you know what I'm saying, make myself seen. Because you haven't made yourself seen on the field yet. And that's your job. So we'll see what authorities are going to bring forth. We'll see what other news is going to happen. We'll see what happens as far as Little Baby. If anything's going to go down with him as far as dealing with his entourage involvement, or if anybody in his entourage is going to come out. I'm pretty sure if anybody in his entourage comes out, it's because they're trying to play something on Lil Baby. So if that's the case, Lil Baby, I hope whoever that was, because as we see here, I'm going to go back before we end this. Look at this. As police went downstairs to locate the victim, right, Keion White, who was found to be white, Keion White, party goers were still leaving. Of course they leaving. They heard the shots fired. You know, they scampering out of there. It was reported that chicks was naked scampering out of there. When asked who had shot him, White was uncooperative, according to the report. Now, people will probably look at this and be like, oh, he was probably in shock. Well, he was shot in the cankle from what we got in the report. Shot in the leg. It's not going to make you not be able to speak. All right? He was uncooperative because he was probably the one that started it. He wanted to have all the chicks that was loving him making it rain to himself. It says police found evidence that included a 9mm shell casing and a 45 caliber casing. So this was lets you guys know that this was two shooters. It wasn't just one guy who had, you know, a nine in one hand and a 45 in the other hand, like John Wick. Pow pow. No, there were two shooters. And it was of the entourage of Lil Baby. So we'll find out what they're going to say about this, y'all. This is another episode of ZamSports. You know what I'm saying? You're going to hear it here first. Make sure you guys hit that like, share, and subscribe if you haven't yet. Until then, I'll catch you guys for another episode. Go on.